left, ready on the right.
Okay. In the absence of the supervisor, the clerk will open the meeting. So tonight's meeting is Tuesday, March 6, 2018 at 6:30 p.m. Can everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call as Supervisor Durant is excused and absent. Trustee LaRue.
Here.
Trustee Wiegand.
Here.
Trustee Everson.
Here?
Trustee Marks.
Present.
Treasurer Johnson.
Here.
Clerk Rattari is here. Staff present is Manager Gerard and our attorney, Roger Zappa. At this point in the meeting, the board has to choose a chair. Trustee Wiegand.
Nominate Treasurer Johnson.
Support?
The Honorable.
Okay, we have a motion and support to pick Treasurer Johnson as the chair of the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Gavel is now over there.
Next item on business is public comment. Seeing our public has disappeared in that, we will move on to board member comments and respond to the public comments. Okay, next item is the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have the approval of the regular and closed session meetings of February 20th and the work session minutes of February 27th. Bills payable in the amount of $100,640.47. We have a budget amendment number 2018-02, and the clerk will review that at the end because that has to be a roll call vote. Committee reports, the water production report of January of 2017 water production and sales. The road committee agenda for March 6th. The recreation committee draft minutes of February 20th, 18. Planning commission draft bylaws and approved minutes of February 14th, 18. February 2018 local community stabilization share distribution. Notice of public hearing for March 20th, 2018. The IOHRA draft agenda for February 28th and minutes from January 24th. The utility billing calendar for March 2018. Supervisor's report, which there was none this month. Financials, the treasurer's report for January. Correspondence not requiring board action is the Charter Communication quarterly franchise fee payment and correspondence from Upset. Is there any comments? Clerk Rattari.
The budget amendment will be in the minutes, and a summary of that is the authorization is requested to reallocate expenditures in the water fund. On the February 4th incident, which we had a problem with one of our tanks, necessitated the work of B&M Technical Services for programming and parts, and that was about $10,000. So that's what that budget amendment was for.
And you did have a report of that in your last packet.
Is that a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. This is a roll call vote because of the
Budget amendment.
budget amendment.
Clerk Rattari is yes. Trustee LaRue.
Yes.
Trustee Wiegand.
Yes.
Trustee Everson.
Yes?
Trustee Marks.
Present.
Yes.
And Treasurer Johnson.
Yes.
That motion carries 6-0 and 1 absent.
Next item up is the approval of the agenda as presented. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
So moved as presented.
Support.
Motion and support for the agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Both. Next item, the education and privilege comment. We have none. Community linkage, We have none at this point. Next item up is policy discussion and consideration and development. It's the fire chief, fire marshal recruitment update, which was in your packet in that. Any comments or? It's pretty well laid out in the packet as to what the procedure is, all the background that's necessary to do it, and we're moving forward in that. If there's no comments on that, we'll move on. Pulled items from the consent agenda, which we had none. Committee reports. Do we have committee reports? Mr. Wiegand.
We have the Planning Commission report for the February 28th meeting. There is a short-term rentals text amendment is proceeding. Following discussion of the short-term rental text amendment, we moved to a public hearing on March the 28th. And prior to that hearing, planning will have legal review it one more time. We already had a review on that, and there's essentially not going to be any change in it. The master plan review has progressed through a review of the last meeting of the edits made to Chapter 3, and we had a general discussion on edits for Chapter 4. Those edits will be reviewed at the March 14th meeting. Final Planning Commission changes were made to this community survey. Another review at the Commission at March 14th with a recommendation to the Board for their March 20th meeting is planned. And the Planning Commission bylaw amendment was approved, and they will become effective at the March 14th meeting, and a copy of the bylaws are in the board packet. And the Recreation Committee, the meeting was on February 20th. An update from the 20th meeting was provided at the last board meeting, and the next Rec Committee will be at the next scheduled board meeting, which is March 20th. The Road Committee, which took place just prior to this meeting, we had a presentation by the Iron Range Roll Group for the June 7th race that they're putting on, and they were looking for support and assistance with emergency plans and road crossings, and we talked about that briefly. And there's essentially, we did a quick review on Chapter 4 of the Road Facilities Plan. We'll look at those edits at the next meeting on April the 3rd. And everything else is on hold, waiting for a mass asset management program update and waiting for the weather to improve before we do a recommendations for road rehab project maintenance.
Is there anything we have to do as a board on that roll?
They will make a presentation, I would think sometime in April, just to get it on the air, and they're looking for volunteers as always to man the crossings, and they'll have a better idea. Chief DeMars was at he's a member of the road committee. He was at that meeting tonight, and he is working on a plan. Pretty much it's a plan they've been fine-tuning for about 3 years now, so they've got it pretty well under control, and they'll present all those plans, I'm thinking, sometime in April.
But any questions on that? Any more? Trustee Marks.
I only have a question. In reading the minutes of the Recreation Committee, Chair, it talked about the preparing of a community survey. Will the board get to review the survey as it's presented, before it's presented to the public?
Absolutely. The charge was the Planning Commission sent that out to their committees for comments, and they take those comments into consideration. They already have, and they looked at them at their last meeting. They'll review those edits at their meeting on the 14th of March, and then it should be at the board for consideration. The Planning Commission will recommend it to the board, and the board decides what they want to do with it. Along with that recommendation for the content of that survey will be cost factors involved, how they intend to distribute the survey, and how they intend to gather the information and present it back so we can make decisions. That'll all be presented at the meeting, should be on the 20th.
Thank you.
Dan?
Dave, does anybody in the spring, do they go and do visual inspections on the new roads that have been put down, and just to see how things are settling, or things are coming about 1 year?
What the plan is the first thing we've got to do with the road maintenance program, we're liable for that by the road millage for another, I think it's another 12 years, is we're going to go out and take an inspection of the roads that were done first and see what kind of maintenance is needed on those. And the board decided a couple meetings ago that rather than go through the county on that, we're going to go through a bid process to see if we can get those repairs done and put a price together on them. But the initial roads we're going to take a look at are the ones that were rehabbed in the first year that we did it.
I did notice on Bancroft Street, down kind of in the middle, behind that strip mall, last year there was a crack in the center line about maybe a foot and a half, and now this year it's probably about 10 feet. So it's opening up there pretty good.
And those are the kind of things that if the public sees something going on out there, they should call into the office and make a note of it so that we can get it on our list of things to look at, because those are the types of repairs that need to get done sooner so they don't cause problems in the subsurface. So those are all things that we'd appreciate the public support, because obviously we don't have the personnel to go out there and inspect all 50 miles of local roads.
Any other questions or comments? Committee appointments, which we have none that I'm aware of at this point. Now we go into public comment and that. No public comment. Meeting wrap-up, announcements. Do we have any announcements from anybody?
I don't know whether it's an announcement. I want to ask about the Board of Power and Light and the noise and other pollution that's coming from it. We sent early letters to them on January 5th of 2016 and May the 3rd of 2016 to the City of Marquette Board of Power and Light, indicating our specific concerns regarding pollution. Our township has on record the answers to those two letters from Board of Power and Light, each indicating that the Charter Township of Marquette could rest assured that no noise or air pollution from the planned energy site power generation equipment would adversely impact our community. 15 or more of our residents have found that statement to be untrue. So what I would ask, and it's perhaps unfair of tonight's chair, are we planning to have a date with the City of Marquette Board of Power and Light and Power returning to tell us when such pollution that we now know exists will no longer be a problem? Has that meeting been scheduled? And if it hasn't, let's do that when we can.
Any comments from anybody?
Manager might be able to give us an update on that. I think you're waiting for a report back from the Board of Light and Power, people that did that inspection.
I know, but that's 2016 is a long time ago. And I respect the fact that we have had conversation with the Board of Power and Light, but there's more to it than that. I would be willing to bet that the city of Marquette probably pledged their faith and credit for that project. They have a responsibility to us as a neighboring community not to have this going on, and at least indicating what they're doing to correct it. And I think that's something that we should be following up on, asking for more than silence.
Well, I guess that's what I was referring to, is the study that was just done, the engineering firm come back and looked at it, and they're putting a report together?
That was the last conversation I had with Mr. Carpenter, and it's probably about 3, maybe 4 weeks ago now, was that they were awaiting, the engineers had been here taking data, and they were awaiting the finalization of the report, and then that was going to be presented to their board prior to them getting in touch with us. I don't know if that has occurred as yet.
Would it be worthwhile to contact them and
Sure.
say we're interested in getting it moving?
Yeah.
Is that
For an update.
possible?
Yeah, like I said, the last conversation I had with Thomas, he was simply waiting for that information to come back from the Wurtzela folks, and with some suggestions on how they might be able to mitigate what they found, if it can be mitigated. So I can touch base with them tomorrow, sure.
I guess more what I was suggesting to your comments, John, was that it might be better for that meeting after we got that report and they actually come back with what their findings were. I'm assuming that when they have that report back, that they'll have some recommended solutions for the problem. I would think that meeting would be more productive then. One can always hope.
Long as it's on its way. The fact that we haven't heard anything since our first letters, and our letters were pretty clear about what we were concerned about with pollution. It was both noise pollution and any other air pollution that might occur. I think they owe us more than they have delivered, and that's what I'm asking for. I'm asking for them, and if we can't get it from them, then I think we should be talking to the commissioner. They always plead that we are a cooperative group of communities. That's not cooperation. And we're going to have spring come along, and we're going to have noise, and we may even have more than that. And I don't think we can look at them and say, well, we haven't heard from the Board of Power and Light. I don't think that's fair. I think we need to demand more than that.
I think if we have the manager contact them and see what the status is and tell them that we're very interested in moving along at a quicker pace than we're getting at that. So,
I'll get in touch with them tomorrow and follow up with an email out to the board members.
any other announcements or questions? Okay, manager's report, which was in the packet.
Yep, not going to be long. Be a little bit brief, but we do want to call attention to one event that's coming up. As you know, the weather, although it's not so springy today, this afternoon, but it has been for the last week, and we lost the ice. Basically, it melted. So I am not going to have the staff chase day to day, trying to freeze it overnight and have it melt the next day. The sun is at such a level now and such an angle that it's just not going to hold. March 24th. Is our next event at the rink, and it is on a poster. It's the last phase of the 3-phase ice undercover process that we've had. March 24th will be a 3-on-3. I expect it to be a boot hockey tournament. It's possible it could be ice hockey. We don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be boot. That is at our ice rink, and the poster, as I mentioned, this poster that we have. Is up on our website. It's in the office. 30 copies were taken out today to be put around the community. We have the registration forms here in the office. It's $20 for the team, and the teams basically are 4 to 5 people, co-ed if possible, and they'll be basically three on at a time with no goalie. We use the goal boxes like we did with the last tournament. So it's a $20 entry fee. You pay it once, and you can do that right here at our front reception desk. Anything else you want to say about that, Pete?
Questions? If people have questions about it, just call the township and They'll be glad to answer your questions.
228-6220, right here at the office. Email, telephone, stop in, whatever. We're going to be limited to about 18 teams, just from the standpoint of time. It'll be a round-robin type of a tournament. So again, 3-on-3, March 24th. It's going to be a good time. DDA, just for board memory and for the public, at your next meeting, the March 20th meeting, will be the public hearing that will be dealing with the potential expansion of the DDA boundaries. Prior to that public hearing, there were a number of requirements that the township had to meet. The DDA went beyond those requirements and scheduled 4 informational sessions, personally invited all of the businesses by mail to participate. We had good turnout, good discussion. And I think the businesses in the community were well represented. The business association itself attended 2 of the meetings, so it had good representation. We have met all of the posting requirements. It's been advertised in the newspaper twice within the prescribed time frame. We have mailed individual invitations and individual posting notices to all of the businesses that would be affected, and that has been accomplished. It had to be done by February 28th, which it was. We also had to have at 20 separate locations in the township, prominent locations, a physical posting, which I myself did. So those were posted at 20 locations around the township, places like coffee shops, stores where people would congregate and where people would be. So the notice has been widely circulated, so we are now in position to have your public hearing on the 20th. That's all that I had.
With the manager.
Just to compliment, there's been a tremendous work done on this, and it's been professionally done. I think we should all appreciate that. I think it's headed towards a good conclusion.
The DDA has been very, very thorough and very behind this project right from the beginning. I've only had 3 phone calls from individuals that were not able to participate in the meeting, and we had 7 of the mailings came back that the individuals were temporarily out of the area, gone for the winter, basically. Other than that, we presume that all 145 of the businesses have been adequately notified or had plenty of opportunity to participate in the discussion.
Dan?
I got one question for our manager.
Yes, sir.
In regards to the fire department chief's opening.
Mm-hmm.
Have you received any applications on that, and possibly, like, do you have a deadline for applications to be?
We do. The advertisement, the position advertisement right now is out posted with the International Association of Fire Chiefs, with the Michigan Association of Fire Chiefs. It's on LinkedIn. It will be going into the Mining Journal here locally tomorrow. It is also going to be on the MTA and the Michigan Municipal League websites. We'll be placing those tomorrow. And I have 1 application in hand, an internal application. The deadline for application is March 23rd. And then I have constructed a matrix to evaluate all of the candidates numerically, basically based upon the minimum requirements and the background and experience that we're looking for. So we'll put them all into a rank order, and we're going to set up an interview committee with three professionals in the fire service that will be participating in the interviews as well. Distill that down to the supervisor hasn't decided yet whether she wants 3, 5, or 7 potential final candidates for her to evaluate for recommendation to the board. So that's where we're at.
Thank you.
Any further questions for the manager? Okay, we're moving on to review the motions passed.
There was only 3. The first one was to designate Treasurer Johnson as the chair. The second one was consent agenda as presented. The third one was approval of the regular agenda as presented. As far as I know, there's no, other than the manager getting a hold of BLP, that's the only action item that we have.
Is there anything else that we need to be considered for the coming agenda from anybody?
I know we had talked about it at the work session, but I haven't seen the list of agenda items that we had.
The calendar. You're looking for the calendar. Yeah, Supervisor Durant, I believe, is going to type that up into that matrix or that
Okay.
calendar she had, so I've been waiting for that myself, so.
Okay.
Well, she's going to watch it, so this will give her something to do.
Okay, then for Lynn that's watching, we're waiting.
Is there anything else we should be considering on future agendas that we're aware of or would like to see?
I think we laid out, just for the public's information, we had a work session was it last week or the week before, but I think we laid out our calendar pretty well on that work session for the major items of the plan of work. So you'll be seeing that every, I think, first or second meeting of the month, we'll have a separate topic that we're going to talk about. I believe next month we're going to talk about the water, the phase 2. And then we're going to talk about another subject in April, or in May. And then in June, we're going to talk about another subject. So we got it kind of laid out, and that's what we're going to do.
We have a lot of things to discuss coming up, but one thing I'd like to put to rest a little bit and try to make some decision on this policy governance. I think we have to, have a discussion, make a decision, and start moving along instead of just discussing it. And it's just taking too long for us to make decisions like that, so. I would like to see us come to some kind of consensus and move on to the next one, so.
You'd like to see that as a discussion item on an upcoming agenda, so we can get moving on it.
Well, I'm hoping Lynn will take a look at it and just, say, when we do discuss it, let's make a plan for it and then decide on it and then move on, to the next one. Because when we started this thing I look today as 2012, when we started talking about the policy governance. So either we're gonna do it or we're not gonna do it, or, so. We got too many other things, important things to take care of. We can't keep adding on to the list, so, thank you.
We have a lot of things on the future agendas that we've worked on.
Exactly, we can't keep adding on to it, or we ended up with a meeting a meeting a week.
For some people, maybe.
Yeah, for Dave. Well, for them.
Okay, now we come to board member comments. Dan, you have a comment?
I have one thing to say that just over a week ago, we lost an active member of our fire department, and he definitely will be greatly missed. And I would like to commend our fire department members for the honor guard that they set up. I was proud to see all the uniforms, the honor guard there. Also like to thank Marquette Township for coming in and filling in for us if we had a call at that time. Fortunately, we did not. And it was just, it was good, warm feeling to see such a good send-off for such a good person.
Yes, Clerk Rattari.
I know it's a ways off, but it'll be here before you know it. We're going to have 2 elections this year, one in August and one in November. We'll have the primary in August and the final one in November. Anyone that would like to get an absentee ballot that qualifies, they can get put on a permanent list. Talk to Lois in the office, and she can get you that paperwork if you want to get an absentee. And when you get on that list, any election we have, you'll get an application for that election. So it's pretty nice. You'll get sent one. And if you choose not to vote, that's up to you. But and I think we're going to have this summer sometime, I think there's going to be a couple election inspector classes. So if anyone out there in the township's interested in being an election inspector, contact myself or Lois. And when these classes, you have to attend a class to get certified to work. And it's not a very long, I think it's a couple-hour class. And I think the county clerk that does that for us will be having some this summer. And it's a 2-year certification, so if you get certified, it's for 2 years. So, and that's it. And then just for the boards, anything we want to put on that ballot, There's some timelines, and anything that needs to go in for August has to be in May. Or anything that needs to go in November will have to be in early August. So those are the timelines that have to be met if we want to add any ballot language this year.
I got one question for Clerk Retired on if a person is or has had an absentee ballot in the past, are they automatically on that list, or do they have to call in and get their name on?
If they are not on the permanent list, they will not get a ballot. We have a permanent list that we keep, and they have to make sure they're on that list.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify
Yeah.
that.
And like I said, Lois keeps that in the office, and there's a paper you fill out to get on that list. But yeah, if you get an absentee ballot, that just doesn't place you on there. You have to actually fill out a separate form to be on that list.
Further comments? Yes.
Just so I can say I said it at least once, I will not be at the first meeting in April. I think it's April 3rd. I'm going to be out of town.
No further comments?
That's like a warning.
You can do that over the phone, Dave. You know, put
No.
a picture on it and say,
I wanted to be able to say that I said something.
Recorded presently.
Any further comments? If not, then we go into a closed session at this point in time. Clerk?
I'll make a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to MCL 15.268 subsection C for strategy and negotiation sessions connected with negotiation of a collective bargaining agreement if either negotiating party requests a closed hearing.
Support?